Hello there. We're living in unprecedented times at incredible heights of innovation and technology, perhaps further than we've ever been before. There are people who believe we've had many iterations of progress. One example of which people may or may not choose to accept is the Atlantean model as described by Plato of an advanced society that once existed which destroyed itself. And you could say that's just a parable. Some people think it actually was a real thing. Some people have suggested we've had 5 or 6 civilizations that have collapsed in the past. But one thing that's for sure now is we are at the height of the era of history, of recorded history at least. And we are standing on the brink of self-destruction, either through war, through the possibility of nuclear annihilation, and also through our technological innovations. We've created a world full of plastic, which is actually poisoning us, so much so that it's even in the water and the food that we consume. Our brains even have microplastics inside them. The plastics making us infertile and damaging our health and the health of every organism on this planet, pretty much. And we're also now creating AI. Who knows where that's going to go? Is that going to be a benefit to us? Is it actually going to destroy us? We as yet don't know how that's going to play out. But if we end up in destroying our civilization, I won't be that surprised. But I do think it is not technology that can save us. Technology is something we've always had. It is spirituality that will be the saving of humanity. Let me explain how I come to that conclusion. If you think about everything that's in our world, one thing that's common to all spiritual beliefs is an understanding that there is some kind of creator and there's a sacredness to life. The water that falls down from the sky, that flows through all of life. Every living being contains water. And that water isn't static. The water inside us passes out and is replaced, and that water spreads throughout the entire planet and is recycled endlessly through endless generations of every different organism that exists and ever has existed on this planet. And the earth itself is, I suppose you could call it a giant ball of dust and metal. This itself, like all the planets, is made from our sun. As the sun shrunk, little bits of it broke off. That formed the different planets of varying densities, getting denser as we get closer to the sun itself, the gas giants. And then in the middle we have the Earth, Mars, and then you get down to Mercury, which is super dense. No life there, it's far too hot. And the air that we breathe, virtually everything on this planet requires oxygen. apart from a few tiny organisms that live at the bottom of the sea. They breathe sulfur dioxide. Everything else requires oxygen to survive. And the fire of the sun is what keeps everything alive. It keeps this planet going. It's like a giant nuclear fusion explosion. And it radiates heat and light all that distance away, thousands of degrees of temperature, 93 million miles away. And yet, that's what keeps us alive. Without the sun, we would be frozen. This planet would be just a ball of ice. And the fires we burn here are just a pale imitation of a reflection of the power of the sun, which is, the cosmic force from which we are created. And bits of that sun are flying off in all directions every moment. Some of them hit Earth, and the other planets, they don't really do much damage generally. Bits of them fly off into space, and who knows where they'll end up. And likewise, bits of other stars are making their way over here, and some of them will hit us. Meteorites that come from other parts of the galaxy, or even some other galaxy far, far away. The universe is absolutely ginormous, beyond imagination. But even visualizing the size of our sun is hard to do. But that's just microscopic. It's like a grain of sand compared to some of the biggest stars out there, our own sun. And all this was created, seemingly. Science now tells us that there was a singularity, a single point of energy. And this energy transformed from potential energy into kinetic, as physics would tell you, an explosion of mass into time and space. Before that, there was no time, there was no space, there was no mass. And this created everything, created this whole world, this whole universe of physical matter. And I believe that probably is correct. And you could say this single point was the creator. Who knows, that maybe its explosion into space and time is actually an explosion of not just matter, but of consciousness. And that all these things are connected back to the source, to this creator. This universe is, in essence, a living entity which we are part of. Of course, for a very long time we've seen ourselves as being at the center of this universe. But I think we're beginning to learn actually we are just one small part of an almost infinite universe. We're one species on a planet of interconnected and unique species. Each one has its own function, its own purpose. And although we may appear to be the most intelligent, at least to ourselves, that doesn't make us superior. And as we're beginning to find out now, partly with the help of AI, that maybe we aren't actually any more intelligent than the whales or octopi or various other species that we think we are above. So I think we are living in a world that is very different from what we may have been taught the world in which we are the center of the universe, where man is the most important thing in the universe, where our world was created in God's image and we were created in His image. Some people are interpreting that we even, we look like God. God is a very loaded word, and I think if indeed there is a creator, I very much doubt that this creator is in human form, if indeed in any actual physical form at all. Oh, we've had technology since near the beginning, and we've had spirituality too from the start. And we started off just with our bodies, and then we learned how to use sticks, we learned how to use stones, we made blades out of flint and obsidian and other things. We've learned how to make clothes out of animal skins. We learned how to make tools and receptacles and all kinds of things. And over hundreds of thousands of years, we've moved on and on. And our understanding of ourselves and the world has changed. We've always had technology. But there's always been this need to understand our place in the world, to understand what we are and why we're here. And that's where spirituality, religion, faith has come in. I think that there has been a sense of connectedness and a need to understand that, because even from a purely scientific view, we are all connected. Everything that's alive on this planet is connected and recycled endlessly over and over countless generations and millennia. And I think that is what gives us a sense of who we are and why we are here. When technology changes, we had hand plows at the beginning of agriculture, and then someone invented the wheel. And various innovations. People invented new processes, how to use metals better, how to use plastics, how to create electronics has been a massive leap forward. The discovery of electricity has really changed the world beyond imagination. Harnessing of fossil fuels. So in the last few hundred years, we've made this enormous leap forward. But I think in terms of our spiritual understanding, our understanding of our own selves, we really have made very, very little progress. So there's many people that, the futurists and the technocrats who think that the answer to our problems as a species is technology, that the answers to our aggression, to our inability to fit in with the rest of our world in a so cohesive and holistic way, is just going to be solved by technology. Because we have laid waste to this planet. There's a monologue I think Mr. Smith gives in the film The Matrix, where he describes us as a virus and how we just keep spreading and spreading and causing more and more destruction. And however you look at it, whether you take that view or not, that is in fact correct. That is what we have done. We have eliminated countless species. We have laid waste to huge forests, destroyed huge amounts of the earth and the oceans too, and damaged the air. And we continue to do this, and we are not only continuing, we are accelerating. We are accelerating this process, not least of all because of the insatiable demands of AI for more space, more electricity, more water. And some people are giving this priority over, the actual Earth itself. How much more can it give before the whole world is turned into a giant data center, I wonder. So we can use technology for good things, or we can turn it into an Orwellian dystopian nightmare. And it's not really the technology itself that's the problem. It's us. It's us, our inability to harness things for the betterment of the world, for the betterment of humanity. Our inner struggle with selfishness, with inability to live in a harmonious way, our self-destructiveness, our violence, our greed, and all these other terrible attributes we have, which in many ways are balanced by, love, kindness, compassion. These things which are a huge benefit to humanity and indeed to the world, especially when we try to repair the damage that we've done. These two competing forces are forever trying to create some kind of equilibrium, some kind of balance. But the trouble for us is the technology now is so powerful that that kind of power of destruction has this ability to transcend our better qualities, that we have the technological ability to completely destroy everything now. But the question is, do we have the capacity, the intelligence, the humility, the understanding of our own selves to be able to harness this and not destroy both ourselves and everything around us? I think the only solution to this is not more technology. The solution to this is actually self-mastery, that we need to grow up, essentially. We need to ascend beyond our sort of adolescence, if you like. I think we're in a process of trying to grow up as a species, trying to break out of this adolescent failure, really, to understand who we are and what we are about, and to transcend that. We are still stuck in this adolescence, and we haven't yet figured out what we're really here for. One thing I'm sure we're not here for is to be consumers and to just keep using up all the resources of the world until they're all gone. That is not the purpose of our existence here. And I think the answers lie not in more technology, but in returning to the source, returning to the basics of our connection to nature, to the elements as I described them, the earth, the water, the air, the fire, the spark of life that this solar system has given every one of us. The ancients often worshipped the sun, but I think people misunderstand that it was not often literal. It was a symbolic worship of the power of creation, the power of life. And I think it's really from that, from an understanding of our connection to everything within the creation and the creator itself, that we actually will find real true meaning about what we are, who we are, why are we here. And the technology, wonderful as it is really very much a distraction. It will not save us from ourselves. In fact, all it is doing is advancing the rate at which we bring about our own demise. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have technology. I think if we actually maybe manage to grow up as a species, we're able to behave responsibly and with real insight, knowledge and understanding, then we would use this technology to the best possible use. We would not use it in a way that is essentially one step forward and two steps backwards, because that's very much what seems to be happening with the way our short-sighted approach just creates more problems as we create new technology. It may be useful in some way, but then there's 2, 3 or 4 different problems that are created by our carelessness, our rush to use these new toys. And I think you'll see this attitude towards the technology in many of the indigenous, for want of a better word, indigenous cultures, where they're not necessarily against technology itself, but they're against the attitude in which we foolishly just rush in and treat these things like new toys for a bunch of kids to play with. Our awareness, our connection to the natural world and the fragility of it should be something that overrides our desire to just keep expanding and using more and more new things. And I think we've lost, as overall, certainly in the Western world, we've lost that inability to be grounded in the earth, to be grounded in a spiritual understanding and a true understanding of what it is to be part of the creation. We're so amazed and obsessed with our own ingenuity, our own innovation and technological marvels that we've lost all focus about what life is really about and what actually really brings us fulfillment. But I think I can tell you that most of these things, the internet, some gadget, even, the joy of having like a fancy sports car soon fades. After you've had a little while, it just becomes a tin box with wheels. All these things are ephemeral. Whereas spirituality can actually offer a lifelong and permanent satisfaction and sense of completeness, sense of understanding, and a real joy to be alive, which is something that technology can't really will never ever be able to give us. So I think these people who are looking at this technocratic future, they're looking for answers in the wrong place. This is not going to save us from ourselves. The only thing I think that will save us is a return to true spirituality. And I don't by that mean observing dogmatic religious rules and procedures. I'm talking about an individual Gnostic journey inwards into the soul, into our own hearts, into actually understanding who we really are and what we're here for, what this life is really about. I think we're beginning to understand that life is far more complicated than we actually thought it was. That the universe is far more nuanced, and there's all kinds of forces that are at play within the fabric of the universe that we can see and can't see. And it's a lot more layered, a lot more complex. But at the heart of it, I think there's a very simple truth about life. That life itself is sacred, and it's something that we should be protecting, not destroying. And I think that really is the only way that humanity will survive through the century into the next one and beyond. And I just hope that enough people will be able to change our direction. The trajectory we're on at the moment is one of technocracy, futurism, a more and more technologized digital life. And I think personally that this is the wrong one. This is the wrong choice. This is not going to lead anywhere except to disaster. So, well, that's my halfpenny's worth. I certainly do not want to be part of this kind of future. That doesn't mean I'm anti-technology, but our focus, I believe, should be on our spiritual life, on life that has meaning and real presence in the world, and not one that is focused on the utilization and manipulation of technology. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm going to leave it there. And if you're still here, thank you for listening to this long monologue, and I hope it resonates with you. If you did, please give a like. It all helps because a lot of my videos are actually shadow banned, and as a result they get very few views. So the more people that like and subscribe and that share my videos, the more it helps me to get my message out there. Okay, thanks for watching, and bye for now.